Psychiatry for a Mad World. An extract from the book. Social exclusion as a cause of mental illness. Last night something happened which fits in beautifully with this story of stigma in an ordinary Scottish village. First, I'm going to meander a little to look at an example of practical synchronicity. The Swiss psychiatrist and pioneer Carl Jung was one of the first to observe and apply synchronicity in the field of psychotherapy. In his article Synchronicity, an Acausal Connecting Principle, Jung describes an incident with a client which has since become quite famous. Quote, "A young woman I was treating had, at a critical moment, a dream in which she was given a golden scarab. While she was telling me this dream, I sat with my back to the closed window. Suddenly I heard a noise behind me, like a gentle tapping. I turned round and saw a flying insect knocking against the window pane from outside. I opened the window and caught the creature in the air as it flew in. It was the nearest analogy to a golden scarab that one finds in our latitudes, a scarabaeid beetle, the common rose chaffer, Chetonia aurata, which, contrary to its usual habits, had evidently felt an urge to get into a dark room at this particular moment." End quote. Jung caught the beetle and offered it to his client. This was perhaps an extremely risky thing to do for a client who was already experiencing disturbed thoughts. Jung suggested that there was some mystical force at work which somehow engineered the appearance of the beetle at that moment. But, as we saw with psychotic serendipity and synchronicity, these coincidences occur all the time, but mostly our mind filters them out. Nonetheless, Jung used the event to break down the client's resistance to the therapeutic work, which became easier thanks to the event, and consequently the woman made improvements. It shows how happy coincidence can sometimes cunningly be used to promote the therapeutic process. Recounting a recent night out whilst holidaying in Scotland offers a relevant point in a similarly synchronistic fashion. I was having a drink in a remote village pub in the Western Highlands. There were a group of us in the bar, several women and me. One of them was a vicar at a nearby church. There was also the landlady and a barman. We were sitting with our drinks making casual conversation when a woman came into the pub. She had on her right arm a child's toy, a puppet elephant. She was operating its mouth and trying to throw her voice as a ventriloquist would do, but she was making a rather poor job of it. There were some folders of papers under her other arm, and it transpired that she had arrived to recruit the pub into a money-raising effort for a local hospice charity. But this woman was unusual. Not only was she poor as a puppeteer, but she had an air of oddness about her. Her face was drawn and expressionless, and her eyes were somewhat wide and staring. She was noticeably thin and was slightly dishevelled, with straggly long blonde hair which was turning into dreadlocks. When she addressed the landlady and the barman, her manner was over-loud, and she seemed to talk over people and not fit in with the situation. It seemed likely that the woman might have a mental disorder which was creating her oddness, though I wouldn't hazard a guess as to what it might have been. Oddness is recognised by psychiatrists as a possible sign of mental illness. The group of women were quick to spot this. When the woman tried to talk about the charity she was promoting, the vicar suggested that she go and talk to some people in another room. The woman left, and the vicar said to the barman, quote, "Aren't you going to thank me for getting rid of the odd bod?" End quote. The group talked about the woman while she was out of the room, and the landlady plotted to tell her that the pub was closing early so they could get rid of her and carry on happily with their conversation. It was a lie. I sat and observed. The woman returned to the bar to talk some more about the charity. She said she was planning to do her puppetry live on radio the next day. The group of women fell into disparaging comments, so I made a point of loudly applauding the odd woman and laughing at her joke, exclaiming, "That woman is a genius." She came to talk to the group, and the hostile comments continued. The landlady suggested she should go off and visit some other pubs, and the vicar said, "Haven't you got a home to go to?" I tried to cut a path through the negativity and asked the odd woman about her charity work. I noted the time for her radio slot, making sure my warmth was visible to the other women there. When it was my time to leave, I stood up and shook the woman's hand, thanking her for all her good work. The vicar looked at me and fell silent.